Max, I want to ask you about the 5-for-5 eligibility. I know that something came out yesterday on that. What exactly, where is that? And that is that a setback for coaches that we're hoping that would pass?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a complicated topic because I think it's, you talk to coaches who really feel like, man, that's just is common sense. Let's get out of the redshirt game, especially, guys, this month when you're seeing not just the players leaving after coaches get fired, but guys that are kind of making these business decisions and their agents are, sort of suggesting, hey, let's take the 4-game redshirt, let's transfer, let's move on and focus on the portal here and stuff. Like, I think everybody would like to eliminate that type of stuff and just get out of the redshirt game unless it's for a medical redshirt and just say, hey, give these guys 5 years to play 5 seasons instead of 5 years to play 4 seasons. The problem is there is a class action lawsuit right now that is trying to get this stuff changed and give guys a 5th year. And so I think the NCAA is, I think as we've seen with other issues over the years here, I think it's like, I guess you guys just have to sit back and kind of let that play out from an appellate standpoint and just kind of see if there is a temporary restraining order or there is a injunction that forces them to change their rule. For now, they're not going to change it voluntarily. And I know coaches would like to see that happen, especially in football, and they'd like to see it happen this offseason. They'd like to be able to bring players back next year. I think a guy like Drew Aller is a great example. Drew Aller could have a 5th year if that changed. And then maybe that would be perfect for him after the injury he had. But for now, it doesn't seem like that lawsuit is far enough that we can say, this is for sure going to happen this offseason. And the NCAA is not looking to make that change this year.
Max, what do you think the athletes would want? Do they want 5-for-5 or 6-for-5?
I think that is part of where the NCAA gets a little bit nervous about, trying to embrace reform like this, is that why couldn't someone just sue and say it should be 6-for-6 or 8-for-8? And I think that's, at least among like the administrators, I think that's a little bit of a talking point here. I think that in the class action lawsuit, these guys are also like looking for the players from like 2020, 22 or whatever. Like, they want some back pay for the year they lost because of this stuff too. So, there is that element of it, just like with the House element a little bit. So there's, what you do with the previous players is a part of this, but, I think for now, it's like, if you're a guy that, thinks you assume that you're done with college after this year, you're out of eligibility, you have to go pro. Certainly you want an answer on this stuff before the portal stuff really heats up in November, December.
Max, a week ago, the Penn State job had opened up, and there was a lot of talk about Matt Rhule, and he's on the McAfee show. And then by the end of the weekend, Nebraska's dealing with a pretty bad loss there to Minnesota. What's kind of been the reaction around those parts to, I wouldn't say flirtation, but just kind of all that talk and whether it was a distraction and then turning right around and having a loss of that nature right afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I got a few texts from Smokey during that one. He was running pretty hot,
I bet,
as you'd expect. I think it's. I think people here want to believe this team's pretty good, and so I think Michigan and Minnesota have just been kind of pretty big letdowns from the standpoint of like you're sort of, all right, I'm starting to buy in. I'm starting to feel like, Dylan's getting better, that this team is getting better. That you look at the schedule, you feel like they can win 8 or 9 games just based on the schedule. And, that tends to lead to taking looking at some of these games, assuming they're going to be easier than they are. And I think, tight turnaround Friday night game at Minnesota, not to make excuses. Nebraska played poorly in all phases. And, I looked this up. They gave up their defense between, rushing and receiving. Their defense gave up more than 200 yards after contact in that game. So Minnesota was just running through bad tackle attempts and really able to move the ball on them and control that second half. And pretty humbling one for Nebraska, and one that I think has kind of shut down the Penn State speculation around here a little bit, because now it just sort of feels like, man, you got Northwestern next, and we're going to view this one as a must-win because the team kind of has to get the mojo back here a little bit.
It's a kind of game, Minnesota, because they've owned them, and this is the kind of game that they can lose 20-7. Northwestern's won. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but they've won 3 in a row. They're 5-2, and they've looked pretty good. Let's look. You mentioned after contact. I would have thought it was another 200 before contact because they never were in some cases touched.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And I think that, Matt Rhule is pretty direct about calling out himself and his coaches and his players for not being ready for that game. And, I think that's I don't know how much it is like, the Penn State stuff is in everybody's ear, because the Penn State stuff's not going to play out for another 6 weeks or whatever. I think part of it is just this team thinking they're better than they are, and you got to keep working, and you got to know that even if even if you spent money on this roster and your quarterback's older and all that kind of stuff, like, you're still going to be in a lot of close games, and you got to win on the margins. And Nebraska's not been very good at that over the years.
Max, can I play a little rapid fire on coaches with you?
Let's do it.
Okay. This is guys that you think would or would not leave. Lane Kiffin.
I'm willing to believe that Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. I'm willing to believe the reasoning for that. It would be interesting if LSU opens. I think that would be one he'd have to pause and think about, I would think. Florida's, they're going to put everything he wants in front of him. And just like Auburn a couple of years ago, I guess we'll see kind of where his gut feeling is when it's time for that. But I have no doubt. I could see him going to Florida, but I don't think he has to go to Florida.
Jeff Brom, who I've heard his name brought up for 4 different jobs that are open or could be open.
I don't think Jeff Brom is looking for jobs. I think he's pretty happy at his alma mater doing exactly what they've been doing and having a lot of success. I mean, gosh, not just the Miami game, but really you look at his whole tenure. I think it's been pretty impressive the way they've built those teams. That's clearly a coaching staff that knows how to evaluate and recruit the portal and kind of reload every year. I bet he'll get calls, but I don't think he's looking to leave.
And what was the last one I wanted to say? Oh my gosh. I've blanked on it now, but those are the 2 I was thinking for sure.
Oh God, I thought you were going to ask me Aranda. That would get me in trouble.
Oh, Aranda's in a different spot. Okay, let's just say Stanford calls Dave Aranda, which is kind of a nice fit for him. Do you think he would go to that one and leave Baylor?
Or just hypothetically, do you think you'd turn down UCLA if you're him?
I don't know. UCLA is kind of a mess, though, right?
Dude, it's so weird here, Max. I don't have any idea of what anybody thinks about what's going on right now with the Baylor football program. I used the word malaise yesterday, and I know that the people working over there probably don't feel that way, but the fandom is, not that they're always right about everything, but it's just there, kind of, if that makes sense. So I don't know where Dave Aranda's head is, but I know where the fans are, and I think they'd welcome that at this point.
I was looking at this yesterday. I was writing about this for ESPN. You go look at the ESPN FPI, and I know people don't love some of that stuff, but you just look at what FPI is projecting right now. FPI has 8 teams in the Big 12 currently projected to go 8-4 or better. It is a little surprising Baylor's not one of those teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is theirs, 7-5, 6-6?
Let me see here.
Yeah. I can't imagine it'd be more than 7-5 until some more evidence comes out.
Yeah, it's what would you guys guess?
I would say 6-6. Correct?
6-6. Yep. They got it projected for 6.3 wins.
Yep.
Yeah, so 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's not going to do it, man. That's not progress.
Max, I don't know. When you're scheduled to ever come to a Baylor game again, and if you do, it's probably because there's some big news. But game day is dead. Just absolutely.
I think Smokey, I texted you a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, you did.
After one of the crowd shots, it's just what's going on?
Yep. Been like that really since the Auburn was great. Obviously, Auburn had fans there too. But, it's a great matchup, an opening game, night game on a Friday. Students are still in town if they were deciding to leave. But Arizona State was – and there's some people who wanted to argue with me about that, but it was a shell. Garrett and I were there right before kickoff, and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought there was 20 minutes left until kickoff. No, it was right before kickoff, and it was a shell on the northern side of the stadium. I don't care about the weather, the sun, the heat, or whatever. That you don't worry about that in Tuscaloosa, College Station, or in Norman. So you shouldn't worry about it in Waco. I don't give a damn how hot it is. So, yeah.
Now, Paul, I do want to ask you to extend the game here. who's your dream hire for Florida State if that opens up?
My dream hire is Kenny Dillingham, but that's not going to happen either. I mean, I would be happy with an Alex Golish.
Urban Meyer's available.
Or a Sean Summerall. Yeah, I don't think that would happen. I don't think the Hellmouth's
Jimbo Fisher, maybe Coach O.
Yeah. It's funny. Jimbo moved back to Tallahassee. He never sold his house. And so I wonder if he's like laying in wait going like, can we try this again and do all that? But again, we just had Sam on, and Sam was like, look, he had every resource at A&M and failed. Like, how are you going to sell it to to FSU, who has far less, than A&M does?
Yeah, Dillingham's kind of like Jeff Brum. We're like, God, that'd be impressive if you can pull it off. But I do believe these guys when they say, hey, this is the place I always wanted to be.
Yeah, I don't know. And like, there's the only alum out there that I can think of that would make people excited is Dion. And I don't think Dion wants to go there because I think he's still mad at them. And B, I just worry about Dion's long-term, career as a coach because he's had all these health problems recently.
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
Max, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Are you at a game this week or what?
No, I am not. So hoping to take in as much football as possible.
Hey, I was going to ask you about BYU and Utah, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
When they entered the conference, BYU right before Utah during the changes the last 5 years, we had heard of the rivalry. We know about the name of it. But watching that game and even last year, is that even more intense than you thought? And have you ever covered that game?
I haven't. No, I'd love to. I'd love to kind of because I feel like that would be intense, but intense and different. It was interesting talking to the BYU and Utah players at media days. I felt like, talking to the Utah guys, they were like, we're kind of friends with a lot of guys on the other team. It's like it's not one of those where like the players are necessarily like motivated to like go brawl with each other and things like that, but certainly. The fan bases, and especially online, those fan bases are as loud as it gets. So, that was a wild game. I'm interested. Like, we'll continue to see as we go along here. Are you guys like pretty much buying like BYU can do this? That BYU can be a 10-11 win team this year? I think that was a great performance against Utah. Obviously, Devin Dampier's banged up, and this BYU team has shown that clutchness to kind of get it done in some tough moments and stuff like that. But would you lock it in today that BYU's in Arlington, or do you think it's going to be two other teams?
The defense is so damn good, but they have this like afternoon game in Ames, coming off such an emotional game at Iowa State. We kind of like have lost track of them, but
at Iowa State, at Tech, TCU at home, at Cincinnati are their next 4 games. With a bye week between Iowa State and Tech. But if they get through those other 2 with just one loss, I think they're probably there.
I think if they win at Ames and it looks like that they haven't like gotten like lack of focus or whatever, because of who they had to play last week in the game, I think if they go into Ames and win, I believe in them. I'm not so sure, but I'd like to see what they do in Ames because Iowa State, you would think, I don't know. I would think that's just a tough matchup. 2 fundamentally sound teams.
Yeah, and I also gets Carson Hansen back, I think, this week, which is important. I'll tell you what, and we'll be talking about it a lot here, and you guys will be talking about it a lot here over the next 5-6 weeks. The who you lose to is going to matter a ton because I feel like we are definitely setting up for another year where 3 or 4 teams are going to be tied at the top of this when we get to the end.
Yep, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. Thank you, man.